All right, what's up with the YouTube fam? I'm back again with another video. So listen, this situation right here is really crazy, man. And there's so many instances where the ball was dropped, and we finna get into all of that. But before we get into the video, I need all my supporters to hit the like button for me. And also, I want to send some love out to these families that were possibly affected by this man. I mean, this dude, he's not a man, I'm tripping, this male. You know, basically, long story short, it's a guy by the name of Jarvis Young. He's 40 years old, and he already had a situation prior to this situation that he escaped from. And you know how, you know the saying, you know how it goes, man. You let somebody, you know, get an inch, they'll take a mile, and this is the prime example of that. He's back around children and everything, even though he already had prior incidences before this situation, and it's very crazy and weird in my opinion. And the ball was dropped because I feel like that people need to have a full extensive screening before they're able to be in a classroom or even in a school setting to preside over other children. It just don't make no sense to me that you're allowing another person to be around other people who don't even know how to control their lust. You know what I'm saying? And situations like this will happen, and they will occur consistently if they don't do the proper research on these people before hiring them, you know. He ultimately ended up, you know, getting away out of the situation he was into prior because the family didn't want to go ahead and try to pursue any charges on him. They let him slide, basically. And I'm pretty sure it's because they don't want the child to have any type of trauma or anything like that continuing in life. You know, just the thought of reenacting some of these things that took place really can harm a person mentally, you know. And the new kid that he's been dealing with recently, he actually, you know, had the child perform certain things on him, and I don't want to get too deep into all of that, but y'all, I'm pretty sure y'all already know what's going on with that right there. And for this guy to be HIV positive is really crazy, bro. But I got a couple of videos right here, and I might have to add some other stuff to one of the videos due to who the video belongs to and things like that, so y'all will know ahead of time. But other than that, man, that's all I gotta say. Let's go ahead and get into this video right here, and I want to send some more love out to these families that were affected by this weirdo. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Sheriff's office is looking for more victims of a Lakeland high school coach accused of crimes.
The sheriff says this is not the first time he has faced these kinds of allegations. News Channel 8's Polk County Bureau reporter Stacey Da Silva joins us now live from the sheriff's office in Winter Haven with what she's learned so far today. Stacey.
Jen and Josh, Jarvis Young is no longer a track coach at Lakeland High School. That's after the sheriff says he groomed and then battered a 16-year-old boy.
Should have never been one.
This guy took advantage of a child.
Sheriff Grady Judd says a Lakeland High School student athlete went to track coach Jarvis Young for help improving his speed and dealing with sore muscles.
Now understand, he told the kid, I'm a trained massage therapist. He buys him lunch, and he also gives him equipment. We call that grooming.
The sheriff says on Saturday, August 26th at the high school, Young inappropriately touched and battered the 16-year-old. According to his arrest affidavit, Young told the boy on a recorded phone call he never wanted him to feel uncomfortable around him. The sheriff says Young then fled to Alabama and was arrested on his return. Over 10 years ago, similar charges against Young were dropped due to statute of limitation laws.
We strongly believe he has inappropriately touched, battered, or possibly had sex with students in the past.
Polk County Public Schools Superintendent Frederick Hyde told News Channel 8 in a statement, quote, "The allegations against Jarvis Young are deeply disturbing. Although he was never convicted of any past incidents, I am extremely troubled that he was involved with our school system in any capacity."
Now, even though he wasn't convicted, just the nature of the crime should be investigated in totality. It should be red flags popping up immediately on his name. Once you start dealing with children and things like that, bro, it's no use for you, really, honestly. You're just a waste, in my opinion, personally. It shouldn't be nothing to talk about. And I hate that there is a statute of limitations on that in that county. It don't make no sense to me as well. I feel like when it's crimes like this, it should be, you know, prosecuted to the maximum extent. People don't even think how deep this shit runs sometimes, I don't think. And also, it happens so consistently to the point where they kind of numb to it. And a lot of people that are in high places do things like this as well, so they kind of be in cahoots with the whole situation. I feel like that this right here is just totally out of line. It's so sad that these children got to be around all these people and they being innocent as hell, coming up to him needing some help, and you want to do all this freaky shit weird. Fuck it, let's get back into it.
We're told Young became a volunteer coach back in December 2020, but again is no longer involved with Polk County Public Schools. Still to come at 5, how the superintendent says this case will change how the district does background checks and what it means for current coaches. Reporting live in Polk County, I'm Stacey DeSilva. 8 on your side.
Start with the arrest of that track coach at Lakeland High School. You're watching 10 Tampa Bay at 5. I'm Josh Sidor.
And I'm Emma Morrow in for Courtney, and we start tonight in Polk County. That is where 40-year-old Jarvis Young is facing sexual battery charges after investigators say he forced a student into an explicit act. And apparently this is not the first time. 10 Tampa Bay's Miguel Octavio leads us off tonight as we press school leaders about how he was allowed to be around children. Miguel.
Sheriff Brady Judge says the student, just 16 years old, told a school resource officer, Jarvis Young, that now former track coach touched him inappropriately and tried to perform a sexual act. That was back in August, and turns out, the sheriff says, Jarvis Young has a history of targeting minors. Young had his first court appearance just hours ago. Back in 2011, he faced another charge of conspiracy to commit sexual battery involving 2 minors. But the state attorney's office says it dropped the charge because of the statute of limitations. Young again was accused in another similar incident in 2017, but the sheriff says the family involved no longer wanted to cooperate.
This investigation goes on. He got away with this before and he wasn't smart enough to quit. Because he's addicted to having, they're trying to have
facts
with teenage boys.
It's still unclear how the school district hired Jarvis Young despite having an arrest record. The district says in a statement it is now rescreening all its coaches and doing more background checks. A spokesperson adds they hired Young in 2020. The sheriff also confirmed Young is HIV positive. Sheriff Brady Judd believes there are more students that either Jarvis Young has tried to or has. I asked him his message to students who are afraid to come forward. He says law enforcement will believe them and will hold Jarvis Young accountable. In Lakeland, Miguel Octavio, 10 Tampa Bay.
Hello everyone, thank you for being with me this afternoon. I'm going
This
to
my
give
boy.
you an update on an investigation that we have been working. And we have been working this on a track coach who was a track coach for Lakeland High School. And this person is no stranger to us. We first interacted with him in 2011, and I'll tell you all about that in just a moment. But I want to show you the track coach. This is Jarvis Young. He's 40 years of age. That's right. A 16-year-old victim told his mother that the coach touched me inappropriately on this Saturday. The mother said, well, you need to report it just as soon as you get to school, and that's what our victim did. He went to our deputy, who's the school resource deputy at Lakeland High School, and he said, hey, I've been battered, I've been touched inappropriately by the track coach. Of course, we immediately called our detectives, and we determined he was not only touched, that he was actually battered, in that the track coach committed oral on him. That set of circumstances began on Saturday, August the 26th. He went to school Monday morning, and which would have been the 28th, and our investigation began. During the investigation, surprisingly enough, the track coach fled the state of Florida and was gone for a period of time. However, as we went through the investigation, we learned this. We learned that Jarvis made admissions to us. He, by his statements, admitted that he was HIV positive. Did you hear what I said? I didn't stutter. He tried to and briefly had with a child knowing he was HIV positive. So it all occurred when our victim, who was working out over the summer because he's an athlete, was sore and he wanted to become more competitive. So he went to his coach and said, can you help me with my strength training and my speed? I need to get stronger and I need to get faster. And Coach Jarvis Young said, sure I can. So he went by the victim's house on the 26th and picked him up and took him to lunch. They went to a Mexican restaurant. They talked at the Mexican restaurant for a while, and he said, well, I've got some weight equipment. Come with me. We'll pick the weight equipment up. We'll take it to your house. And they did that. And they started putting it together, and there were some parts missing, so they had to make a side trip down to, I believe it was Home Depot or hardware store. And then Jarvis Young, the coach, said, I need to put up some equipment at the school. How about going to the school with me? Once again, this is on Saturday. So the kid goes with Jarvis to the school, and Jarvis had told him at lunch that he was a trained massage therapist. Now, we don't see any evidence that he's certified, but he told the kid that. Now, understand, he told the kid, I'm the trained massage therapist. He buys him lunch, and he also gives him equipment. We call that grooming. So they go to the school, and they start putting up whatever sports equipment they were dealing with. When the coach, Jarvis Young, said, hey, I'll massage those hamstrings that are causing you problems. So Jarvis begins to massage the hamstrings and tells the young man, flip over. And he's continuing to massage and stretch his legs, and then all of a sudden, he grabs our victim and briefly batters him before the victim jumps up and says, take me home. He drove him home, and it was reported to us. So if you can't believe that's horrific enough, we arrested, once again, Jarvis Young in 2011 for conspiracy to commit sexual battery on a juvenile when he and another adult took two juveniles to a motel to have. Well, we ended up making an arrest on that. However, the charges were dropped because it wasn't reported to us until the statute of limitations, as they were at that time, had expired. So this guy got away with sexual battery. It's also reported to us that he used to be an athlete at the school and was known to hang out prior to being hired by the school to hang out there as well. And he hung out around the sports programs. He's a classic predator, child predator. He's a classic pedophile. In 2017, he supposedly had a young man in the car with him and grabbed him on the leg inappropriately, but just grabbed him by the leg. That turned out to be a battery. But during the course of the investigation, it was reported to the police department. During the course of the investigation, the family became uncooperative, so the police were therefore unable to bring criminal charges.
Why the hell is he free? It's too many incidences where it led to be something that was some bullshit on his end. They should have took care of this instantly. Like I said before, they should get rid of these folks, man. Ain't no need for them at all. You out here doing this much shit, and you can't control yourself at this point. You know what I'm saying? Some people make mistakes, but you don't make mistakes like this. This is something that you knew was wrong, and you acted on this multiple times. Yes, I'm not riding for him. He don't need no sympathy at all. And let me repeat this for somebody who's being slow. No, I'm not saying that this was a mistake that he made as far as like making an excuse for him. I'm saying people make mistakes, but this ain't a mistake. You knew what you was doing, and you knew it was wrong. This is pitiful. He should have been eliminated or put in jail a long time ago. Let's get back into it, though.
During the course of the investigation, we picked rumors up, and that's why I'm classifying them today clearly as rumors, because we've not run this information to ground and don't have it solid in writing yet. But the rumors were around Coach Jarvis Young. Hey, he'll give you stuff, but don't let him touch you. Did you hear that?
They knew he was
Kids
sick.
that knew him from sports said he'll give you stuff, but don't let him touch you. That tells us one thing clearly. He has battered possibly sexually battered, inappropriately touched other kids for that rumor to spread among them.
I'm sure.
We strongly believe he has inappropriately touched, battered, or possibly had sex with students in the past based upon the rumors that swirl around him, and they continue to swirl upon his arrest. It's imperative that if your child has been battered, inappropriately touched, whether it's a misdemeanor or not, that you report that to us as soon as possible.
Facts. They're trying to build a case.
It's important to understand that our school officials, Mr. Hyde, our superintendent, who is a remarkable superintendent, does a really great job, is angry to say the least. He is preparing or has prepared a statement that he's going to release to the media. However, he's doing a deep dive into all of this, saying why was this guy around the students, and what was the history, and what did we know, and when did we know it. And he's taking some proactive measures now that it's come to his attention. Those that may want to be critical of the superintendent need to understand he's got 13,000 people that work for him. And if somebody hears something or sees something and they don't tell him, they don't say something to the appropriate people, then it's very difficult to react. But do we believe there were people that knew that he had contact with children? You betcha. And we need people that saw something or heard something to say something. This investigation goes on. He got away with this before and he wasn't smart enough to quit, because he's addicted to having or trying to have sex with teenage boys. He's already HIV positive. We suspected him of being HIV positive in 2011, but he's admitted to us that he was, and we're taking him at his word. Okay, are there any other questions before I wrap up?
I know you kind of laid out the situation before and how the charges were dropped, but how concerning is it to you that he did, it appears, slip through the cracks and be able to be a high school coach?
Well, once again, it is disturbing. It is remarkably disturbing. You know, we have a rule of law and we have to respect that. But there was an arrest record on him. So before he was allowed to be a paid coach, he was not a school teacher. He was just a paid coach. That's all he did. Before he was allowed to do that, what kind of background did they complete at the school? That's a lot. That is a lot of questions, and the questions that the superintendent has right now. And the superintendent's going to do a deep dive and get answers to all of that. But the reality is, when they hired him as a track coach, he had a 2011 arrest history, even though he was found not guilty, or they had to drop the charges because of the statute of limitations. So there was a proclivity for him to do things that were inappropriate. And for those of us who deal with these issues, we know that the people who engage or try to engage in this kind of behavior, statistics and research shows us, don't change what they want to do. So someone should have done a background, an appropriate background, and said, hey, dude, we know that you weren't convicted of anything. We know you were arrested for it, but we just need to move on.
It made me think of the doctor arrested that was associated with USA Women's Gymnastics. It's kind of that trust between athlete and doctor, athlete and coach. What do you think this portrayal of trust is?
Well, it's evident to me. He's an athlete who wants to get better. He goes to his coach. And he says, hey coach, I want to get stronger. I want to get faster. His coach takes him to lunch, buys him lunch, grooms him, gives him weight equipment, takes it home, helps him put it together, and then says, oh, by the way, I need some help down at the school preparing some sports equipment. So he goes to the school with him on a Saturday, where he's alone. He's already groomed him at lunch after our victim says, man, I'm sore from all these workouts. Hey, I'm a massage therapist. You know, I'm angry. The community's angry. And every mama and daddy are angry. Make no mistake about it. This guy here is evil that will groom a 16-year-old kid, take advantage of that position of trust in order to batter him. And when he made that abrupt action, the kid jumped up and said, take me home. But there are thousands upon thousands of school teachers in this Polk County school system that work hard every day. And they do what's right. And they make children better. And they help them. This guy, as a coach, has embarrassed the school system, but make no mistake about it, he is the rare exception to the rule. Our goal, though, is to appropriately take him before a court and let the jury decide whether or not he needs to spend a very long time in prison, and they'll make the final determination. Yes, sir.
Going off of that story, a lot of survivors might be afraid to come forward. Maybe they fear that they won't be believed. You mentioned there might be more students who might be a victim of this. Do you have a message for them if they're just afraid to come forward?
Yeah, thank you very much. My message to the students is we're going to believe you, and we're going to protect you, and we're going to make sure you have any counseling or infrastructure for support that you need. But you can't allow this bad man to hurt anybody else. Emotionally, physically, you've got to help us. We need to know everybody that he has attacked or tried to attack. And predators, sexual predators, and pedophiles don't attack with violence. They attack with Mexican lunches and free exercise equipment and being your friend and wanting to make you more competitive in the world. This guy took advantage of a child. We know he took advantage of other children, but because of our law, he escaped that one. But we know there are other victims out there. We know there's one victim of a battery that before the police could finish the investigation, the family said, we're over this. He just grabbed him by the leg. Enough of that. That's not acceptable. We want to, as I say with my vernacular, we want to put him under the jail for a very long time. And we believe, anecdotally, from experience in the past, there are other people out there that can help us ensure that he never can be around children again, that he's locked up in the prison system where he needs to be.
They're trying to build that case for sure.
Of limitations, and how did that play a role in this particular case?
The statute of limitations at that time, I believe, were 4 years for that particular charge. It varies. Since then, the legislature has changed the statute of limitations, and I believe, depending on the event, that there is no statute of limitations any longer. I haven't had the chance to research that before this press conference, but we've always had no statute of limitation for capital battery on a child under 12. There was a statute of limitations at this time in 2011, but since then the legislature has changed that to where I believe there's no statute of limitations on battery or battery of a child now. I'll have to research that, but I know one thing for sure. August 26th of this year is clearly within the law.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to get him a whole bunch of the courtroom. Yes, sir.
Sheriff, is there any further charges pending or this case, or maybe some tips you've already gotten?
Well, the investigation is still underway. We are looking for other victims at this time. Okay? Thank you very much.
Shout out to them, man, and I'm glad they're trying to find out everything else they can find out about this situation. I hope they hold him accountable because he deserves it. And I want to say that these schools and things like that need to go ahead and do their full due diligence on all these men and these women, these dudes and these girls that they allow when they come into their schoolhouse and actually have potential to do things to other people's children. It's not good at all that people are just slipping through the cracks like this consistently. It's not a 1 or 2 time thing. This is happening multiple times, and it's happening all over the world. It ain't just one spot. I don't know too much about this area, but I'm pretty sure that anything that he's I think his name is Grady if I ain't mistaken, anything that he's dealing with, he gonna make sure you get taken care of, and I really rock with that. But overall, man, I want to know what y'all feel about everything in the comment section. If you made it to the end of this video, I really do appreciate y'all, and I will holler at y'all later on another video. And yeah, make sure that you're being careful and watching everything and everybody, because people out here with all this malicious intent and they want the next person to be hurting like them, and they willing to go to a lot of pain and heartache on themselves just to hurt you, so make sure that you watching out for everything and everybody. But overall, that's all I gotta say. I will holler at y'all later on another video. If you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate y'all, and I'll holler at y'all later. All right.